3 minutes. That's all it took for centuries of royal symbolism to tremble. In a move no one saw coming, King Charles issued a private command that sent shockwaves through the very heart of the monarchy, Camilla's throne chair, removed from the stateroom. No explanation, no ceremony. Just a silent order that echoed louder than any public declaration. And as palace doors quietly closed, whispers began to rise. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The order did not come with raised voices or dramatic announcements. It arrived the way the most consequential royal decisions often do, measured, deliberate, and devastatingly calm. A senior aide received the instruction in private. No written decree circulated, no press release drafted. Only a quiet directive that Camilla's throne chair was to be removed from its place beside the king's in the stateroom. Those present in the inner circle understood immediately that this was no minor adjustment. In a monarchy built on ritual and placement, nothing is moved without meaning, and when something as symbolically loaded as a throne chair is taken away, it is not simply furniture that disappears, it is status, solidarity, and a statement carved into silence. Inside the palace, disbelief rippled through corridors, usually governed by composure. Advisors exchanged guarded glances. Staff members, trained never to speculate, found themselves calculating implications in hushed conversations. Was this temporary, a subtle disciplinary signal, or something far more permanent, a recalibration of royal hierarchy unfolding in real time? The removal itself was executed without spectacle, but its absence created a vacuum that felt louder than any public dispute. Because the throne chair had not merely represented comfort or ceremony, it symbolized partnership, it declared unity. It affirmed Camilla's visible role beside the king at the highest level of state authority. And now it was gone. What unsettled insiders most was not just the act, but the timing. There had been tension in recent weeks, a tightening in the atmosphere that few dared to acknowledge openly. Public appearances had carried a faint chill. Smiles seemed practiced, not spontaneous. Conversations during engagements appeared shorter, less fluid. Some attributed it to pressure, others sensed something more personal, more profound. The king, long defined by patience and calculation, had appeared reflective, almost burdened. Was this a strategic move designed to shield the crown from gathering storms? Or a decision rooted in emotion, in regret, in a reckoning that had finally reached its breaking point? Senior royals reacted with carefully measured restraint, yet the shift was impossible to ignore. They understood that symbolism in the monarchy operates like a silent language. The positioning of a chair can speak louder than any speech. The removal of one can redraw invisible lines of influence and proximity. Some sensed opportunity, others feared instability. All recognized that this was not accidental. The king does not act impulsively. If he ordered this change, it had been weighed, perhaps agonized over for longer than anyone realized. Because beneath the surface, something had been building. A fracture not yet visible to the public eye. A strain between devotion and duty, between personal loyalty and institutional survival. The removal of Camilla's throne chair was not an isolated gesture. It felt like the first visible crack in a structure that had been under silent pressure for months. And as the reality of that empty space settled into the palace psyche, one truth became impossible to deny. But this was not merely about a chair, it was about power, perception, and a royal partnership now standing on unsteady ground. To outsiders, it may have looked like a simple rearrangement, but within royal walls, chairs are never just chairs. They represent rank, recognition, legitimacy. And when Camilla's throne chair was removed from beside the king's, the visual language of monarchy shifted overnight. What does it mean when a queen consort's seat is taken away quietly, deliberately, without explanation? The answer may be more unsettling than anyone imagined. For centuries, royal seating has functioned as a silent constitution. Placement defines power, distance defines hierarchy. The throne room is not merely ceremonial, it is psychological theatre where every inch of space reinforces authority. When a consort's chair stands beside the monarch's, it signals unity not just of marriage, but of mandate. It tells the world that this partnership is sanctioned, secure, inseparable. Camilla's chair, positioned within arm's reach of the king, had embodied that endorsement, It declared that she stood not behind him, not beneath him, but beside him, and now that position had been erased with a single command. The removal did more than create empty space. It disrupted continuity. Royal watchers understand that protocol evolves slowly, almost reluctantly. Deviations are rare and calculated. When they occur, they are not accidents. They are signals. A throne chair taken away without ceremony suggests deliberate recalibration. It whispers of repositioning. It implies that proximity to the sovereign is no longer guaranteed. Within the palace, such gestures are interpreted instantly. Titles may remain unchanged, but visibility can be quietly reduced. Influence can be subtly redefined. And in a monarchy built on perception, perception is everything. Internally, the implications are even sharper. Hierarchy in the royal family is both formal and emotional. Seating arrangements reflect trust and standing. To be physically aligned with the king during state moments reinforces legitimacy before diplomats, dignitaries, and the nation itself. When that alignment shifts, questions follow. Is this distancing symbolic or substantive? Is it a protective maneuver designed to shield the institution from controversy? Or does it reveal a fracture in confidence, a reassessment of roles that few dare to imagine possible? Palace insiders understand that once optics change, authority begins to recalibrate around that change. For Camilla, the emotional weight of this gesture cannot be underestimated. A throne chair is not merely wood and fabric. It is validation earned through endurance. She has weathered public criticism, scrutiny, and decades of controversy to reach this place beside the king. To see that visible affirmation withdrawn without explanation raises painful questions. Is this humiliation masked as protocol? A strategic sacrifice demanded by political realities? Or a mutual understanding reached in private conversations that the public may never hear? Strength may require silence, but silence does not erase feeling, and in that silence, speculation grows. Beyond personal impact lies a more profound possibility, that this is the first visible sign of a constitutional evolution. Monarchies adapt to survive. They streamline, they modernize. They recalibrate public-facing roles to maintain stability. The removal of a throne chair could signal a shift toward a more singular projection of authority, one where the king stands alone at the center of state symbolism. If so, this is not merely about Camilla. It is about redefining what partnership looks like within the crown itself. Because symbolism is never isolated, it arrives at a moment chosen with intention, and if symbolism was the message, the timing of this decision tells an even more explosive story. Palaces are built on marble, but they survive on silence, and for weeks, perhaps months, there were signs that something was brewing behind closed doors. Subtle changes in body language, uncharacteristic distance during engagements, private meetings that ran long into the night. What was unfolding between King Charles and Camilla before this shocking order, and who else inside the palace may have seen it coming? Long before the chair disappeared, the atmosphere had shifted in ways that only seasoned observers could detect. The monarchy thrives on composure, yet composure can crack under pressure. There were whispers of disagreements, not explosive, not theatrical, but strategic, discussions about direction, about image, about how the crown should present itself in a climate increasingly unforgiving. Some believed these conversations centered on modernization, others suspected they were about survival. Because when public approval fluctuates, every decision becomes magnified, and every partnership becomes scrutinized. In recent appearances, something felt restrained, not hostile, not overtly strained, but measured. Where once there had been seamless rhythm, there was now careful choreography. Words chosen with precision, gestures calibrated. It was subtle enough to avoid headlines, yet perceptible enough to raise questions within palace walls. Those who serve close to the sovereign learn to read nuance like scripture. A pause can mean doubt. A shift in tone can signal recalculation. And in those weeks leading up to the order, recalculations seemed to hang in the air. Pressure on King Charles had been mounting steadily. He carries the weight of continuity, the responsibility to preserve not just tradition, but relevance. The institution does not tolerate vulnerability easily. Advisors reportedly urged vigilance, reminding him that perception is power. Protect the crown. Protect stability. protect the future. In such counsel, affection and loyalty become secondary to legacy. The king has always understood that the monarchy survives through sacrifice. The question is, who must bear it? Behind closed doors, confidential meetings stretched late into evenings. Senior advisors were seen entering private chambers with folders and leaving with expressions too neutral to decode. Strategy sessions became more frequent, not panicked, but urgent. There were discussions about optics, about distancing certain narratives, about reinforcing singular authority at the center of state symbolism. And though no one spoke openly of removing a throne chair, the groundwork for symbolic change may have been laid long before the command was spoken. Amid this mounting tension, emotional isolation deepened. Leadership at that level is profoundly solitary. King Charles, long accustomed to scrutiny, faced the burden of appearing decisive while grappling privately with consequence. Camilla, too, stood within a storm, not entirely of her own making. To occupy a role that demands public resilience while navigating private uncertainty requires extraordinary endurance. In that silence between appearances, in those quiet corridors after engagements, the strain must have felt heavy. Because even royal partnerships are human before they are ceremonial, what makes the removal so striking is not its suddenness, but its inevitability. Decisions of this magnitude rarely erupt overnight. They accumulate, they harden, they wait for a moment when symbolism can deliver what conversation cannot. The empty space in the stateroom may have been the final act of a process that began months earlier, when doubts first surfaced and strategies first shifted. Those closest to the situation may have sensed that something significant was coming, though none could have predicted the exact form it would take. And so, when the order was finally given, it was less an explosion and more a culmination, a quiet climax to weeks of internal recalibration. The throne chair did not vanish because of a single argument or fleeting frustration. It vanished because a line had been drawn, perhaps reluctantly, perhaps decisively, between partnership and preservation. And in that decision lies the unsettling truth that something larger was at play, but tension alone does not move thrones. Something larger, something urgent, must have forced the king's hand. Monarchies survive on public belief, and when belief wavers, strategy becomes survival. In recent weeks, pressure around the palace had intensified, public approval fluctuating, whispers circulating, narratives spinning out of control. Could the removal of Camilla's throne chair be a calculated response to shifting public sentiment? Or was it a desperate attempt to regain control of a story spiraling beyond the king's reach? The crown has always walked a fragile line between devotion and duty. A sovereign may love deeply, but he must rule decisively. And when those two forces collide, history shows that institutions rarely choose romance over relevance. King Charles stands at the center of that collision. He is not merely a husband, he is the embodiment of continuity. Every decision he makes is filtered through one relentless question: will this preserve the monarchy or weaken it? In that relentless calculation, personal loyalty can become secondary to institutional survival. Throughout history, sacrifices have been made quietly to shield the throne from instability. Alliances have shifted, roles have been redefined, public optics have been adjusted with surgical precision. The removal of a throne chair fits within that tradition of strategic symbolism. It sends a message without uttering a word. It reframes a narrative without issuing a statement. For advisors concerned about perception, such a move is both bold and efficient. It draws attention while controlling interpretation. It shows action without inviting debate. Behind the scenes, voices urging decisive leadership reportedly grew louder. Counselors, analysts, and senior courtiers understand the volatility of public opinion. They monitor sentiment like a pulse. When that pulse quickens, hesitation becomes dangerous. The king was likely presented with stark options: remain steady and risk appearing detached, or act boldly and reclaim authority over the narrative. In times of uncertainty, a single visible shift can restore a sense of command. Removing the chair may have been framed not as rejection, but as recalibration, yet beneath the strategic framing lies emotional cost. Constant scrutiny wears down even the most disciplined partnership. Every public appearance dissected, every gesture analyzed. For Charles and Camilla, the burden of representing stability while absorbing criticism must have grown heavier with each passing week. Affection exists, history binds them, but history also shadows them. When controversy resurfaces or approval wavers, it does not merely affect image, it strains resilience. The king may have felt the weight of protecting both the woman beside him and the institution above them. This is where the tension sharpens, because distancing symbolism, however strategic, carries personal implications. To adjust placement is to adjust perception. To adjust perception is to invite speculation. Was this decision made together in quiet understanding, or was it imposed in reluctant necessity? The monarchy thrives on unity. Yet unity can be reframed when circumstances demand it. If the crown's future required a more singular projection of authority, then reducing visible partnership may have seemed like the safest path forward. The true conflict lies not in the stateroom, but within the sovereign himself. Private affection battling public responsibility. A husband's loyalty confronting a monarch's obligation. In that internal struggle, there are no easy victories, only choices, and each choice reshapes legacy. If this was indeed a calculated response to shifting belief, then it signals a king willing to prioritize preservation over perception of harmony, and a speculation intensified outside the palace gates. Inside, another conversation was unfolding, one that may redefine succession itself. When the throne chair disappeared, it wasn't just Camilla who felt the shift. Every senior royal understood the weight of that empty space. Eyes met across corridors, conversations lowered to whispers, because in a family where hierarchy defines identity, a single removed chair can rearrange destinies. Who stood by the king's decision? Who feared what it signaled? And who quietly welcomed the change? Within hours of the order, the palace atmosphere grew heavier, not chaotic, not openly confrontational, but tense in the way only royal households can be, where emotion is masked by discipline and uncertainty hides behind tradition. Immediate family members absorbed the news with practiced restraint, yet the implications were impossible to ignore. A throne chair does not vanish without consequence. Its absence forces everyone to reassess their own position in relation to the sovereign, and in that recalculation, loyalties are tested. Some senior royals are said to have interpreted the move as necessary. To them, the crown must always come first. Stability outweighs sentiment. If public perception required adjustment, then symbolism had to follow. Their support may have been quiet, even pragmatic. Others, however, felt the sting of personal loyalty. Camilla had stood beside the king through scrutiny and storms. To see her visibly distanced even symbolically felt unsettling. It raised uncomfortable questions about how secure any role truly is when perception shifts. Private reassurances from the king, if they came at all, were measured. Charles is known for introspection, not impulsive declarations. Those closest to him may have sensed conviction rather than doubt. Yet conviction does not erase emotional cost. The silence that followed the removal allowed speculation to fill the void. Without a clear narrative, the palace began to divide not publicly, but internally between those who viewed the decision as protective strategy and those who feared it signaled fracture. Speculation quickly extended beyond Camilla herself. If one role could be recalibrated so visibly, what did that mean for others waiting in the wings? Royal households are ecosystems of proximity and prestige. When the center shifts, the orbit changes. Some members likely began reassessing their future positioning. Others worried about unintended ripple effects. The monarchy thrives on continuity, yet continuity felt fragile in that moment. Even subtle changes can embolden ambition or deepen insecurity. Psychologically, uncertainty is corrosive. Staff and senior figures alike are trained to operate within clear structures. A removed chair disrupts clarity. It invites interpretation. It fuels narrative. Was this a temporary adjustment or a prelude to broader restructuring? The emotional toll of not knowing can be as destabilizing as overt conflict. Conversations behind closed doors grew more careful. Words were weighed, expressions guarded. Because no one wanted to misread a shift that might define the next chapter of royal history. Beneath the surface, alliances may already be recalibrating. Some may align more tightly with the king's vision, anticipating further modernization. Others may quietly rally around Camilla, viewing the gesture as an unnecessary exposure. The monarchy has endured by absorbing tension without public rupture. But internal dynamics matter. They shape decisions long before they reach the stateroom. And so the palace stands in a moment of suspended clarity, everyone aware that something significant has happened, yet no one certain of its full meaning. The empty space is not merely symbolic, it is psychological. It has unsettled assumptions, stirred loyalties, and awakened ambitions. In royal life, perception shapes destiny. And when perception shifts, destinies shift with it. Yet beneath all the whispers and reactions lies a deeper question: was this removal symbolic, or the first step towards something irreversible? What does it cost a king to remove the chair of the woman who stood beside him? This wasn't merely a political calculation, it was personal. In that silent command lay decades of history, loyalty, controversy, and redemption. Did King Charles see this as a painful necessity? Or was it an act born from a moment of private reckoning? The crown demands sacrifice, but whose sacrifice is this? For a man who has lived his entire life under scrutiny, every choice carries echoes of the past. Charles understands better than most that monarchy is not sustained by comfort, but by control. He has waited a lifetime to wear the crown, learning in the shadows of expectation how fragile public favor can be. He knows that admiration can turn to doubt with alarming speed. That legacy is not inherited. It is negotiated daily, and so when he issued the order to remove Camilla's throne chair, he did so as both husband and sovereign, fully aware that those identities are never equal in weight. Balancing love and leadership is not a poetic dilemma within royal life. It is an unforgiving reality. The man may feel loyalty, affection, shared endurance. The monarch must calculate optics, consequence, and continuity. Charles has endured decades of public turbulence. He has watched narratives spiral beyond his control. He has seen how swiftly perception can reshape history. That lifelong education in scrutiny may have shaped this moment more than any immediate crisis. If he sensed that maintaining visible unity risked weakening the institution, then distancing, however painful, may have seemed like preservation. There is also the burden of knowing that history will not judge gently. Kings are remembered not for their private intentions, but for the symbols they leave behind. A removed chair will be analysed long after the conversation that preceded it is forgotten. Charles knows that his reign will be dissected for signs of strength or hesitation. In that awareness lies immense pressure. Act decisively and risk personal cost. Hesitate and risk institutional erosion. In such a calculation, the margin for error feels razor thin. Some believe this move was preemptive, a shield raised before a storm fully formed. Perhaps advisors warned of controversies looming on the horizon. Perhaps internal polling suggested that certain optics required recalibration. If so, the king may have concluded that symbolic adjustment now would prevent larger upheaval later, sacrifice a visible gesture to secure long-term stability. It is a cold equation, but monarchy often demands cold equations. Yet beneath strategic reasoning lies something more: human fear. Not fear of scandal alone, but fear of legacy unraveling. Charles has waited too long, endured too much to see his reign destabilized by hesitation. Stability is the currency of monarchy. If he believed that preserving singular authority would reinforce that stability, then the decision becomes less about rejection and more about consolidation. Still, consolidation carries consequence. It redraws emotional lines. It redefines partnership in ways that cannot be undone easily. And there is the haunting possibility that this is not the final adjustment. Symbolic shifts rarely occur in isolation. Once a precedent is set, it opens space for further recalibration. The stateroom has already changed. The language of placement has already been rewritten. If this was the first move in a broader restructuring, then the monarchy may be entering a period of visible transformation. Charles understands that leadership sometimes requires discomfort. The question is how much discomfort the crown and those closest to it can endure, because once one chair is removed, the structure of the room and the monarchy can never look the same again. The stateroom now holds an absence, a visual void impossible to ignore. And sometimes, absence speaks louder than presence. What does this bold move reveal about the monarchy's direction? Is King Charles signaling a streamlined future, a recalibrated hierarchy, or a profound shift in royal partnership? One thing is certain. History remembers moments like this as turning points. The monarchy has always relied on image, as much as authority. Its power rests not only in law or lineage, but in the symbolism that surrounds it. A throne room is a language. Placement communicates priority. Proximity communicates trust. And when that arrangement changes, the message reverberates far beyond palace walls. The removal of Camilla's chair does not simply alter furniture, it alters narrative. It suggests that the crown may be repositioning itself for a new era, leaner, more singular, perhaps more cautious. There is growing speculation that this marks the beginning of a streamlined monarchy, a future where ceremonial visibility is concentrated, where symbolism emphasizes the sovereign alone, rather than shared prominence. In times of uncertainty, simplicity can project strength. A single focal point can stabilize public perception. If this is the strategy, then the empty space becomes intentional, a visual declaration that the king stands at the undisputed center of authority. That is a powerful message in an age of shifting loyalties and relentless scrutiny. Ceremonial roles may quietly evolve in response. Future state occasions could reflect subtle adjustments in positioning, emphasis, and hierarchy. Indefeatance may be recalibrated, appearances restructured. The monarchy has always adapted incrementally, rarely announcing its transformations outright. Instead, it allows change to unfold through gesture and sequence. The absence of one chair today could signal a broader redefinition tomorrow, and once redefinition begins, it rarely stops at a single alteration. This moment also highlights the evolving definition of modern monarchy. In a world where transparency and accountability are demanded, symbolic gestures carry amplified meaning. The public does not merely observe, it interprets. The removal has ignited fascination precisely because it is visible yet unexplained. People sense that something significant has shifted, even if the full reasoning remains concealed. That tension between visibility and silence fuels intrigue. It keeps attention fixed on the crown. For many, this bold move feels like a declaration of intent, a statement that the king is prepared to reshape optics to safeguard longevity. Others see it as a rupture in partnership, a troubling signal that unity has been compromised. Both interpretations hold weight, and that duality intensifies the suspense, because when symbolism is ambiguous, imagination fills the gaps. The monarchy understands this dynamic. It has survived for centuries by mastering it. What makes this moment historic is not simply the removal itself, but what it suggests about the road ahead. If the crown is entering a period of visible transformation, then this is merely the opening act. Adjustments to protocol, ceremony, and hierarchy may follow in quiet succession, each one reinforcing a narrative of controlled evolution, each one reminding observers that the monarchy is not static, it is strategic. And yet, amid all the analysis and speculation, there remains a silence that feels almost louder than the decision itself. A silence that hovers over every theory and every prediction. Because while the world debates what this absence means for the institution, it cannot ignore the personal dimension embedded within it. But while the world debates symbolism, one voice remains conspicuously silent, the woman whose chair vanished without warning. Since the order was given, Camilla has not spoken publicly. No statement, no visible reaction. And in the monarchy, silence can be more powerful than protest. Is this composure a sign of quiet resilience, or the calm before a deeper confrontation? Those closest to her say she understands the weight of optics, but understanding does not erase emotion. What is she thinking as the stateroom stands changed? For a woman who has endured decades of scrutiny, silence is not unfamiliar territory. Camilla has lived through headlines that questioned her place, her influence, even her legitimacy. She has survived public doubt and personal attacks, emerging each time with a measured steadiness that frustrated critics and impressed allies. But this moment is different. This is not external controversy pressing against palace gates. This is internal symbolism shifting beneath her feet. The removal of her throne chair is not an accusation spoken aloud, it is a statement implied. And implied statements can cut deeper because they leave room for interpretation. Public symbolic distancing carries a unique sting. It does not require confrontation to feel consequential. It does not require explanation to create emotional tremor. To stand beside the king one day in ceremonial affirmation, and then find that visible proximity erased, the next is a powerful recalibration. Even if privately agreed upon, the optics are undeniable. In royal life, placement is validation, and when placement changes, so does perception. Camilla understands this. She has navigated perception for years. Yet understanding strategy does not shield the heart from impact. There are whispers of private conversations between her and the king, quiet exchanges weighed down by necessity. If this was a joint decision, it would have required extraordinary composure. If it was presented as unavoidable, it would demand extraordinary acceptance. Either way, such a shift cannot occur without emotion. Charles may carry the burden of sovereignty, but Camilla carries the weight of standing beside him while that sovereignty recalibrates. That is a complex place to inhabit: loyal partner, public figure, strategic variable. Her decision to remain composed may itself be strategic. In a monarchy where reaction fuels speculation, restraint preserves dignity. Silence prevents escalation. By saying nothing, she avoids validating rumors or deepening narrative divides. It is a form of power, controlled, disciplined, intentional. Yet composure can mask vulnerability. Behind closed doors, there may be questions. Was this sacrifice temporary? Is it protective or permanent? Has her role been redefined without full clarity? These uncertainties linger, even if never voiced publicly. Camilla's resilience has been forged through adversity. She knows how quickly sentiment can shift. She knows the value of patience. But patience is not passivity, it is a calculated waiting. If this silence is strategic, it suggests she understands that time will reveal the true scope of the change. If it is reflective, it hints at deeper contemplation about her place in a monarchy that is visibly evolving. Either possibility keeps tension alive, and tension, once introduced, rarely dissolves quietly. Silence can precede acceptance. It can also precede revelation. The absence in the stateroom has already reshaped narrative. Whether it reshapes partnership remains unseen. What is certain is that Camilla's quiet endurance is being watched as closely as the king's decisive action. And as the palace braces for the next state appearance, all eyes will turn to one simple question: what will that room look like now? History often pivots on moments so quiet they almost go unnoticed. A signed document, a closed door, a removed chair. 3 minutes ago, King Charles made a decision that may echo for years to come. The stateroom now tells a different story, one of uncertainty, recalibration, and possible reinvention. And as the world waits for the next public appearance, one thing is clear: the monarchy is shifting. The absence of that throne chair is no longer just a detail. It is a statement frozen in space. Visitors may walk into the stateroom and sense nothing unusual at first glance. Yet something feels altered. An alignment has changed. A balance has tilted. The king stands at the center, but the visual harmony that once framed him has been interrupted. That interruption lingers in the imagination. It invites interpretation. It plants doubt. And doubt, once introduced into the architecture of monarchy, spreads quietly, but persistently. Inside the palace, the emotional atmosphere has grown heavier, not chaotic, not visibly fractured, but undeniably reflective. Decisions of this magnitude do not evaporate after execution. They settle into conversations, into glances, into unspoken awareness that something fundamental has been adjusted. The monarchy thrives on continuity, yet continuity now feels slightly rewritten. The question is not simply why the chair was removed. The question is, what else may follow? Some believe this moment marks the beginning of deeper reform, that the king is positioning the crown for a more concentrated projection of authority, that ceremonial roles will evolve, that symbolism will tighten, that the institution will tighten, that the institution will streamline itself in response to modern pressures. Reform within monarchy rarely announces itself boldly. It reveals itself through increments, through absence, through recalibrated proximity. The removed chair may be the first visible sign of a transformation unfolding in deliberate stages. Public fascination has intensified. People who rarely scrutinize seating arrangements now debate symbolism with urgency. The power of monarchy lies partly in its mystery, and mystery has returned in force. Every gesture is being re-examined, every silence dissected. In a world saturated with noise, the quiet removal of a throne chair has commanded extraordinary attention. That alone underscores its significance. Because when something so subtle captivates the public imagination, it suggests that the stakes are larger than they appear, yet beneath all analysis lies a fragile truth. Monarchy survives on unity as much as authority. The line between strategic recalibration and visible fracture is thin. Too much distancing can feel like division. Too much consolidation can feel like isolation. The king must navigate that line carefully, aware that perception shapes loyalty. If unity appears strained, confidence wavers. If confidence wavers, the foundation trembles, and so the stateroom stands as both symbol and warning. A reminder that even the most enduring institutions are capable of change. A reminder that leadership demands defy cult choices. A reminder that legacy is built not only on triumphs, but on moments of tension that redefine direction. This may be remembered as a bold act of preservation, or as the opening move in a broader reconfiguration of royal life. One thing is undeniable: this is not an isolated gesture. It feels like the first chapter in a story still unfolding, a quiet turning point whose full impact has yet to surface. The monarchy has shifted, and when monarchy shifts, history listens, because in the monarchy, nothing is ever just removed, it is replaced, redefined, or reborn. And what comes next may be even more shocking. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.